standing by. The Terry and Ted podcast is brought to you by the UPS Store Canada, now with over 400 locations across Canada.
Hello there, Ted Bird. Welcome home.
Terry DeMonte, thank you very much.
You were in New York City this weekend.
I was a part of it
about
in old
that?
New York. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. You got some stories to tell, I bet.
I have more stories to tell than I can tell in the allotted time, and by the time I get through half of them, you're going to be going, okay, that's enough about you and your trip to New York.
Is it going to be the podcast version of somebody showing you their pictures from
Kind
their
of,
holidays?
yeah, no. I think I got some pretty good stories, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ted was in NYC to see the Giants, actually in New Jersey, to see the New York
We
Giants.
stayed in New York, though.
Yeah.
We stayed right on Times Square.
Yeah.
Right on top of it.
Excellent.
Outdoors on the sidewalk in Times Square.
A little chilly.
Yeah.
And I've got some things to talk about from this past week. Jess and I played tourist in our town on Saturday. I got some stories from that, including the story of the guy in the balcony who should have tied his robe a little tighter. And
Lots of those guys in New York as well.
the tweet sheet, hot dogs, and one letter to read from the mailbag. A letter poured in.
Nice.
It's all coming up. And did I mention we have a guest?
No.
Okay. JDM Stewart, a man that I follow on Twitter, who's a former teacher. Don't think he's still teaching, but we'll find out. Has written a book called The Prime Ministers, Canada's Leaders and the Nation They Shaped. Interesting man who used to teach at Selwyn House here in Montreal. And we'll have a little chinwag with him. But first, we must say thank you to our friends at the UPS Store Canada. Over 400 locations across the country. Jess and I were trying to solve a problem last night about a birthday gift that has to be shipped into the bowels of Ontario. And we looked at each other and said, wait a minute, the UPS store in St. Sauveur. So that's what we're going to do. The UPS store solves problems, whether you run a business or you're looking to ship a birthday gift in a difficult place that's hard to get to. The UPS store can handle all of it. Boxes, tape, packing peanuts, pens, passport pictures. I mean, they just do so much that if you run a small business or you have a problem, a momentary problem, shipping something across the country, the UPS store can handle it for you. The UPS store also has a terrific website, the upsstorecanada.ca. You'll find the business blog there. You can find the location that's near you. And in any one of over 400 locations across the country, you'll find smiling people ready to help you out. You were just there recently, Ted.
I was at the UPS store on the island of Parrots,
Yes.
which is operated by Jason Liverman, one of two stores that Jason runs. And he's one of those smiling people that you mentioned. He's a good Joe, and I've watched him in action, and he takes really good care of his customers. And everybody knows and loves Jason. I posted a picture, and someone went, "Hey, that's the UPS store guy on Ile Perot."
Yeah.
That's who it is.
Go and see our picture. He's put our picture up, hasn't he?
I believe he
Yeah,
has. Well, I
okay.
gave it to him.
There
Whether
you
he
go.
put it up or not, I don't know.
maybe-
But I'm guessing he did.
Yeah, maybe it's in the store.
Yeah, he's a fan, and above and beyond that, he's a friend.
Our thanks to the UPS Store Canada. So, off to see the Giants.
Yeah, well, the Giants suck.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
they're awful.
You're used to that now.
Yeah, but it was about the experience.
Yeah,
It's
your father-son trip. That's pretty cool.
Fourth Giants road trip with my son Sam. First home game. We've done Tampa, and we've done Jacksonville, and we've done Miami. And this weekend we did New York.
Can I ask you,
You can ask me anything.
did you have any problems crossing the border? Because you crossed at the
None.
airport, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No problems. No problem whatsoever. Everything was okay.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. And so you flew into LaGuardia?
Flew into LaGuardia. And I got lucky in both directions. On the flight there, I had 2 seats to myself.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And on the flight back, I got the emergency exit row
Uh-huh.
and the aisle seat.
Wow.
So I had extra leg room. But when I got to my seat, there was already a young lady who was sitting in the aisle seat. And this is at the end of a long day. And you know what it's like when you travel. You get a bit crabby.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's my seat. And she said, oh, no, I have the aisle seat. And she showed me her boarding pass. And I said, no, D is the window.
Yeah.
F is the aisle. I have F. And she goes, well, is it okay if I sit here? And I said, no, that's my seat. And so she moved over to the window seat, and it's the emergency exit door, right?
Yeah.
And she looked really upset and sad. And I said, why do you want the aisle seat so bad? And she went, because I'm scared. And I said, well, then take the aisle seat, and I'll sit by the window. And I guess she was afraid the door was going to fly off and she was going to get sucked out of the plane. And I felt bad afterwards because I'm scared. Oh no! Well, then sit over here for God's sake. I don't want you to cry for the whole flight.
A jumpy flyer or just not an exit exit row?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
And her English wasn't great, so I just thought, okay, And then, like I say, I felt bad. I should have just said in the first place, "Oh, that's okay."
Well,
frightened little girl, you stay right where you are.
I'm scared. Too bad.
Yeah, well, that's what I was like in the beginning.
Yeah,
I was like, I had attitude right out of the gate because when I looked down the aisle and I saw her in my seat, I was like, "That's my seat."
This is a conversation you see a lot on places like Reddit and travel blogs and whatnot. When you book a seat, a specific seat, and now on most airlines you have to pay for them. So if you book, usually when you book an exit row seat, you pay extra money for that.
Yeah, no,
and
I
you
got
choose
lucky.
your seat. So that I mean, A, you got lucky, and B, there's always an argument of if you paid $40 for that seat, and the flight attendant comes up to you and says, "Would you mind trading with such and that?" Do you do it, or do you say, "I'm going to trade, but I want my money back"? Like it's a thing now with the flying. So good on you for being a nice man.
Yes, good on me for giving her the seat in the end. But I shouldn't have been a crabby old man right out of the gate.
Well,
that's my seat. Get out. But I'm scared.
Maybe she was playing you.
No, I don't think so. No,
I'm kidding.
No, she was a sweet, innocent little thing, and I was a crabby old man.
So what did you do other than the Giants game, and was New York busy? I mean, that sounds like a dumb question.
It was a beautiful weekend, and when I flew in, it was a beautiful, clear September morning, and we circled around Manhattan. You could see the Statue of Liberty. You could see the skyline. It was a spectacular view, but I couldn't help but think it was exactly the kind of morning that it was on September 11, 2001. Yeah. Exactly the same kind of beautiful September morning.
Yeah.
But we landed at LaGuardia.
That's good.
Yeah. And the weather was spectacular all weekend. We stayed at the Marriott Marquis right in Times Square, $800 a night. But I thought, you know what? For 2 nights, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. We could have got something a little bit further away from... Or we could have got something else in Midtown Manhattan for $500 a night, but it would have been a shoebox. And I thought, you know what? For 2 nights, I'm going to spend the extra money.
Good for you.
And it was definitely worth it.
Good for you. This makes it sound like I'm some kind of globetrotter. I'm not, but.
But you've traveled extensively. You know the travel experience.
I'm over Times Square.
Me too.
They're busy and then loud and
it was cool the first day. And the weather was so beautiful. It was absolutely packed. But then when we got away from Times Square, we went over and we walked up and down Fifth Avenue and Park Avenue, and we saw all the usual. We saw Madison Square Garden. We saw Grand Central Station. We didn't visit any of those things. We just walked by them and saw them. And to me, one of the most interesting parts of the trip was on the way back, you take the subway to Roosevelt Station in Queens, and then there's a very convenient bus that takes you to LaGuardia for free. Oh. It's real easy to get from LaGuardia into Manhattan and back again. So I said to Sam, he was like, okay, what are we going to do now? This was on Monday when we were leaving, and our flights weren't until early evening. And I said, you know what, let's take the subway to Queens where we're going to get the bus to the airport, and let's walk around that Queens neighborhood a little bit and see what that's all about. Because, Manhattan, I've been there, done that a number of times, and it's spectacular. It's one of the most electrifying places in the world. but I wanted to see a little bit of other parts of New
You
York.
wanted to see the boroughs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Archie Bunkerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to Queens and we got off the subway and we walked around a little bit and we ended up in an Indian neighborhood, an East Indian neighborhood, and we were the only two white guys. Everybody was East Indian.
Yep.
Everybody. And it wasn't that didn't make me uncomfortable
No,
at all.
no,
There was
no.
no sense of hostility or anything. And we were looking for a place to eat, and I said, I'm not eating Indian and getting on an airplane.
Yeah,
that's just not going to
That's
happen.
a bad idea. I don't
For
know
me
about
and-
anybody else.
For me
but-
and for everybody
Yeah,
else
yeah,
on the plane.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
So we went back up onto the main drag, which I think was Roosevelt Boulevard, and we just started walking, and we ended up in a Latino neighborhood because all the restaurants were Mexican or Central or South American. And we had, we saw an Ecuadorian restaurant, a Peruvian restaurant. We finally got to a Costa Rican restaurant, and I said, you know what, let's try this. And we went in, and I've never been served so much food in all my life.
Well, the picture.
Did you see the picture
I
of
did.
my plate? It was like they gave me like 5 steaks.
Yeah, I know. Was that what it was? Was it beef?
Yeah, it was rib steak cut into strips,
Yeah.
but like big, generous
Yeah.
strips of rib steak.
Yeah.
And I couldn't finish it. Like my side dish of rice and salad, I looked at it and I was like, is this my meal? No. Sam said, no, that's your side. And Sam got breaded chicken.
Yeah, Sam's plate looked even bigger than yours.
Yeah, and he cleaned that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, 26 years old,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
He had all of that, and then he had a couple of pieces of my steak. But it was really, really good.
Did you? Was that the highlight eating wise? Did you? Just,
I would say so. Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did most of our eating other than that at the restaurants in the hotel, which were
Yeah.
really good. And coffee was included with my breakfast.
Very good.
At least with the order that I made. But I said to Sam after we ate at the Costa Rican place in Queens, I said, I want to come back to New York and I want to do a tour of the boroughs.
Yeah.
I want to do Queens. I want to do the Bronx. I want to do Brooklyn because I want to see where real New Yorkers live and work. And he said, well, have fun.
Not a borough tour
I guess
guide.
not. He wants
Manhattan, yeah.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
He wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And we were also. I was thinking of you because I was singing Duke Ellington on the whole trip. The old 1940s jazz singer. Every time we were on the subway, I would break into Duke Ellington. I'd say to Sam, which train do we take to get to Times Square? And he would say, the N train. And I'd go, you should take the N train to get to 42nd Street and Broadway. Sam was like, oh.
I was going to say, how long did that before that got old?
Oh, not long at all. Which train do we take? I'm not telling you. Because you're going to sing that song.
Did you get an impression that, was the plane empty, do you think, because people aren't going down to the States as much anymore?
I don't know. It wasn't empty. It was mostly full. There were a couple of empty seats, but no. I got to the airport at 6:00 on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
and there was already a huge lineup for customs. Now, people are going to the States.
Jess and I loved your post. We're off to New York City, elbows down.
Yeah, no one's going to tell me.
No, I understand.
No one's going to tell me, you
listen-
shouldn't go to New York. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going.
And you did. You
Yeah.
went. Yeah, there you go. Why don't we tell people about, do you have more stories? Is there something I forgot to ask you?
No, that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
I had.
Did you run into many crazy people?
A fair number.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All
that's,
right.
you run into lots of crazy people in Montreal. Oh, yeah, there was one in Queens. He was dressed, he was an old guy,
Yeah.
and he had on like a suit that was too big for him with a tie, and he was pulling his belongings in a grocery cart type of thing, and he was walking along, and it sounded like a bird call. He was going, fuck you, fuck you. I wish I had taped him with my phone, and we could hear him like we were 3 blocks down, and we could still hear him. Fuck you, fuck you.
Was this in what? Was this in
Queens?
In
Yeah.
Queens.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the fuck you bird.
Yeah, I guess.
Very New York.
Yeah.
Let's tell people there's news from Sugar Sammy before we bring in our guest. Sugar Sammy is a proud sponsor of the podcast here at the Standing By podcast. Podcast Standing By.
That's right.
I just saw Sammy a couple of days ago. We were doing a little project for friends of ours together, and he said, I'm going to have some news for you. And sure enough, you got the email.
The bilingual shows in Montreal this weekend are sold out. Yeah. You might be able to find single tickets.
Yeah.
At sugarsammy.com, but sold out for the most part. The Montreal All-Star Gala this coming Sunday is on low ticket alert. That's going to be a unique experience. That's Sammy hosting a show, emceeing a show, featuring half a dozen up-and-coming young, talented Montreal comics. And Sammy's doing that in conjunction with his brother Sid.
What a great opportunity to see him, especially in that role as MC.
Yeah. Now, this is cool. You probably won't be there, but he's going to be performing at the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia on the 6th of October. And then he'll be doing Dubai October 18th and 19th. This is how much of an international sensation Montreal Cotonou native Sugar Sammy has become. Also, 2 shows in London, England, and 1 in Manchester. Tickets for that should be on sale by midweek this week. Again, sugarsammy.com. And he's got more shows coming up in the UK, USA, and Canada, including Montreal. I looked at his website this morning. He's got January shows coming up in Montreal and Quebec City. Again, for current shows or to sign up to get priority for tickets for upcoming shows, go to sugarsammy.com.
It's such a well-organized website, and you can find the city you want to see him in, and you get things like low ticket alerts, and you can also see clips of his crowd work. It's terrific.
He is a well-oiled machine.
He sure is. Now, I'm going to ask you to bring our guest in. Mm-hmm. We're going to play a little bit of interlude music, and we're going to do this live like we used to on the radio. Our guest is James Stewart, who's the author of this book. We're going to talk to him about it next.
Stand by.
Go. James, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Sorry you got lost.
And seniors moment. I'll chalk it up to Google Maps. It led me astray.
We record on Chabanel, and James is... where is home now, James?
Toronto.
Toronto. So you've been in Toronto for a number of years, I guess?
Yeah, almost 30 now.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, oh, I didn't know that.
This is one of the reasons why I love this podcast, is because it's a little piece of Montreal that I can have every week.
That's
so
nice.
Still a Montrealer at heart.
Yes.
Most born and raised ex-Montrealers, in my experience, are still Montrealers at heart.
But I made a goofy ex-Montrealer mistake, or a guy who's lived in Toronto too long, because I tried to go to Beauty's for breakfast this morning. It's closed on Tuesdays. Right. I forgot about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Really? Why Tuesdays? Well, a lot of places are closed on Mondays, I know.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it might be Monday and Tuesday.
Really?
I think so. I think that's their weekend.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah,
because they'd be busy on Saturday and Sunday.
The Saturday, Sunday is their big day.
Yeah, that makes
do I
a lot
call
of
you
sense.
James?
Yes,
James?
yes.
Okay,
yeah.
James. Because on Twitter, where you and I met, it's JDM Stewart. And
Right.
when we were writing back and forth to each other, I never knew whether to call you JD or...
I know.
Anyway, what does that stand for, JDM?
So David is my father, and Murray, the M, is my grandfather. And the reason I did it is we had these old scrapbooks when I was growing up, and they were kept by my grandfather, and they had like note paper and letterhead, and men went by their initials back in the day. So it's a little bit of a throwback to the old days for me, a little bit of an homage to a different time where gentlemen went by their initials.
Are you born and raised in Montreal?
No, I was born in Toronto and raised in Oshawa.
Wow.
And that's why I was telling some people I know when I was coming on the show, I said, Ted Bird, I remember him from CFTR.
That's right.
When you did sports.
Yeah.
And,
Holy smokes.
That's a deep cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
you're dating yourself now.
I know.
Yeah. That was in the early 1980s.
Yeah, and John Landecker, I think, was the morning man.
John Records Landecker.
Yeah. Jim Brady, I think, was another guy.
Yeah.
Jim Brady preceded John Landecker. When Brady left, John Landecker took over, and that was a big deal because John Landecker was a huge star, radio star in
Chicago.
Chicago.
One of the all-time Hall of Fame guys in the radio business. If you worked in the radio business, you know.
And
who John
CFTR
Landecker is.
plucked him out of Chicago and brought
which
him
was a
to
big
Toronto.
deal back
and
then.
probably he wouldn't have come cheap.
Nope. And did you leave the Schwa and then move into Toronto, or
No, I went from the Schwa, which we never called it in the 1980s. That's a later iteration, and then I went to McGill.
Yeah.
And that's how I, fell in love with Montreal. I started to work. I got my first teaching job at Selwyn House in Westmount, and stayed in Montreal for a few years before I ended up going to teach school in Panama, of all places.
Wow.
And then I ended up back in
How
Toronto.
long were you at Selwyn House?
Just 2 years, but I was kind of there 5 years in total because I was a volunteer coach there before I started teaching. So I knew a lot of the guys from over a 5-year period. Really.
What you would call hardcore traditional private school,
yeah, for boys,
Selwyn
school for
House?
boys, yeah.
Yeah, I think it still is too.
Yeah,
if I'm
I
not
think you
mistaken.
would, Selwyn or LCC those are the two biggies, eh?
Yeah.
And then from there back to Toronto.
Yeah, so from Panama back to Toronto, and I've been there since 1998, I guess. But I still get back to Montreal regularly because I love it and like to get in to see a hockey game. And I certainly regret that the Expos aren't around anymore because they were so much fun to see. And it's a great town, and I still have lots of friends from the McGill days, the Montreal days, and happy to be on the pod.
And
James is wearing a nice McGill hoodie.
Yeah.
If you're listening and not watching on YouTube,
It's a little sweaty from running around trying to get here.
from getting lost.
Yeah.
Still teaching?
No, retired from teaching
Yep.
after 30 years, and just decided that with this book coming out, that it would be an opportunity for me to sink my teeth into writing full time. So that's what I've decided to do.
You just don't look old enough to be retired.
No, I know.
James.
I mean, I use the word retire in quotation marks.
Okay.
I am kind of young. I'm 56.
Yeah.
And so I'm still working, but a different kind of work now.
Let's dive into the book. The
Yeah.
book is called The Prime Ministers, and my wife and I are fighting over it.
Oh, okay, good.
Like my wife's, she read like 4 pages, and she said, "Jesus, this is so beautifully written." She said, "History books should be written like this, and everybody would take history."
Well, thank you to Jess.
It's really, really interesting, and I kind of cheat read it. I went to my favorite prime ministers first,
Right.
to have a look. And one of the things that I love about the book is you're not picking sides.
Right.
You're not saying this guy was the greatest because of this. It's all factual
Yeah.
and deeply researched, I'm guessing.
Yes. So as I spoke at McGill yesterday about the book, and as I said to the audience there, I said, I have great respect for the office of Prime Minister. So I'm not out there to do a hatchet job on anyone or give a stinging critique. Everyone gets their measure of praise in the book, and everyone gets their measure of criticism.
Yes. And it's, especially in this day and age, is a breath of fresh air.
Right.
Because you can read it without becoming enraged,
Yeah.
no matter what side of the political.
I don't think anyone's going to throw this book against the wall.
No, not at all. And I've already learned a bunch of things, and I'm going to start with Sir John A. Macdonald. I am not part of the let's vilify the first prime minister of the country,
Right.
because there isn't a country without him. But the stuff I learned in this book was quite something, including his Indigenous file.
Right.
This is something that people don't know. So I got 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Why was he so on top of it, and what's happened to that reputation? Why do people not know that?
Well, it hasn't been widely disseminated, number one. And also, I think to a certain degree, some people will be selective in what they want to understand about somebody and what they want to use in public.
When you say not know that, not know what?
Not know about Johnny MacDonald's Indigenous policies. For example, he tried to give the vote to some Indigenous people if they met the voting requirements. So this is kind of far ahead of its time. It wasn't until 1960 that Indigenous people got the vote thanks to Diefenbaker. But MacDonald was trying to do it in the 1880s. And he had some Indigenous people as his friends. But on the other hand, he did have policies of moving Indigenous people off reserves,
Right.
using food as a weapon, if you will. And so the record isn't totally clean, but people try to paint Johnny MacDonald as some kind of evildoer, and that's not the kind of person he was at all.
Well, they try to paint him as a genocidaire, if that's the word.
Well, he's not that either.
Yeah.
You know, it's some of these words that get thrown around
Yeah.
today. It's,
Well, yeah.
as you know, it's just not appropriate.
The thing about the people that sit in the PMO is they're all human beings.
Right.
So none of them are perfect.
no, they're
That's
going to
right.
be flawed.
And all those people who serve in public office are all trying to do the best that they can. Nobody's out there to try and wreck Canada as much as people might try to say that they are. Now, you can disagree with them, and you should disagree with them if you do, but that's why we have elections and free speech, and you can, protest whatever way you want if you don't like it.
Yeah, and before you write me a letter and say the podcast, I thought you said the podcast isn't political. This isn't political.
No.
We're talking about Canadian history.
It's a history. Yeah.
It's a history
The book is a
book.
history book.
And
yeah.
it's such a good book, and it's so easy to read, and it's full of, if you're a bit of a doofus like me, it's full of surprises. I don't know how many times Jess closed the cover and said, I didn't know that. Listen
Yeah.
to this. We were fascinated with Mackenzie King's fascination with
Ghosts.
Hitler's skin.
Right.
What?
Because he commented on it in his diary, and he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, he has such beautiful
So he's got
skin
beautiful
and liquid eyes, or something." So
Like-
he got taken in. But this isn't a political podcast, and the book isn't overtly political. It's a historical book. It's a story of a nation. And one of the reasons I wrote the book is that at this time we feel Canadians are kind of searching for a bit of an identity again, and ties that bind. And ties that bind are the stories of the country. And so I've tried to tell the story of the country through the lens of the prime ministers.
And you write about every prime minister in this
Yes,
book.
it goes right up to Mark Carney.
Do you have, in the sense that we all have our favorite hockey players, do you have a favorite prime minister?
I get that question quite a bit, Ted,
Do you?
actually.
Yeah.
I know. And I like them all, but when push comes to shove, I would say that Wilfrid Laurier is my favorite. And the reason I like him is his eloquent manner of speech. He was a conciliator and a man of toleration, but also passionate speech and passionate about Canada. And he said, Canada has been the inspiration of my life. And I've kind of adopted that as my motto, because I love Canada like a lot of people in this country, and it's the inspiration of my life, and it's why I taught history for 30 years.
And for people who don't know Wilfrid Laurier's era, his years were...
Right, 1896 to 1911. A McGill grad, too.
Oh, is
so
that right?
That
There
little
you go.
interesting piece. But you know what? I do love Lester B. Pearson, too, because he loved baseball, Pearson.
Oh, yeah?
Great storyteller, great sense of humor, and not consumed with himself. So he'd be a great guy to have a beer with.
Of all the prime ministers that you met, and I read that you met and interviewed, and I think this was when you had another book
Right.
called Being Prime Minister.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you had met and interviewed 6 of the 7
That's right.
living prime ministers at
Yes.
the time, but not Stephen Harper.
Not Stephen Harper.
What
He's-
happened there?
He said no.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the funny story is my agent is his agent. And so I had my agent ask him, and he just said, I just say no to everybody. So I'm just going to say no to James.
And
as
of the
well.
ones you got to speak to, was there one in particular who stood out to you as one who, or let me rephrase that, which one struck you the most as someone who got into it for the right reasons to make this country a better place?
Well, I would say that they've all got into it for that reason. There's no question about it. But maybe since this is a Montreal-based podcast, I would say one of the most interesting characters I met was Brian Mulrooney, because he was just such a fascinating figure who also just loved to throw praise at you and charm you. So I remember I got in there one time, and when I taught at Selwyn House, one of the students there was Mark, his son.
Yeah.
So I'd make small talk at the beginning. I'd say, "Hello, sir. Nice to see you." I say, "How's Mark?" And he wouldn't skip a beat. And he said, "Talks about you all the time." And I said, "Okay."
What a charmer he was, eh?
I've changed some students' lives, I guess, but usually kids I taught. And I never taught Mark. So that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
Was King prime minister for as long as he was as a consequence of the world events at the time?
Some of it was that, but also, one of the things is it was a different time. So it was a lot harder to get tired of a prime minister in the 1930s and 40s because you didn't see them in your face all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of Canadians would never have seen Mackenzie King on television because it wasn't really around at the time, or on, there was no social media. But he also had great political skills, and he just knew how far he could go without going too far, and he wasn't a polarizer either. So he understood the country and used smart people to help him navigate places like Quebec with Ernest Lapointe, who was his Quebec lieutenant, and just a smart, skillful politician.
Because you were an educator, this may sound like a dumb question, but when you were doing research on all of these men, was there anything that caught you by surprise as you were going through the research?
That's a question that I would ask my students too. So it's a great question. And I think this is sort of a double-edged thing where I wasn't surprised to see that Indigenous history was all right there for the taking, because we haven't talked about a lot of Indigenous history in terms of its relevance to prime ministers, but there is a lot of it as I was researching the prime ministers. And so some of that is in the book as well. So that was a little bit of a surprise.
Is there a prime minister who you would call the most consequential?
I'm going to say John A. Macdonald, because he was first and he's the one who made the country and set the path forward in ways like that. I got this question yesterday at McGill as well, and I couldn't name it down to one the way is there only one? But the quick answer is, Pierre Trudeau, Wilfrid Laurier, Brian Mulroney. You can make a strong case for Lester B. Pearson too.
So with Trudeau, the Constitution, with Mulroney, free trade.
Yeah.
These are all huge things that have shaped the country.
That's right. Even the repercussions of free trade we're dealing with right now because the United States doesn't know if they really want it anymore. So, and Mulroney also set forward a path of environmentalism, which has been picked up by other prime ministers, and he
doesn't get credit for, I find.
No,
James,
I think in the book I talk about the fact that he was named the greenest prime minister in the early 2000s, and even Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader, said, "We never knew it then, but this was the Valhalla for our green prime minister, and it was Mulroney." I think Justin Trudeau picked up the mantle a little bit there in terms of environmentalism. He's the one who's probably taken it the furthest, but Mulroney really started it, I would say.
Why do you think I shouldn't? This is a big generalization, but why aren't people more interested in our history? Does it start at the school level?
Some of it's there. I think, part of it is we're overshadowed by the United States culturally, and a lot of our cultural touch points are American. So kids might grow up knowing who George Washington is before they know who Sir John A. Macdonald is. So some of that is a cultural problem of being next to the United States. Some of it is the school issue. But it does ebb and flow. In the 1990s, when it was the 50th anniversary of D-Day and the ends of the Second World War, there seemed to be a lot of increased interest in our military history. So it ebbs and flows. And right now, I think we're in a period where people are looking for a bit more culture and history. So hopefully this will translate into, more book sales, but more interest in Canadian history too.
Are there particular, sorry, Terry.
Go ahead.
Are there particular techniques that you employ as an author and an educator to make it more interesting for readers and students?
For sure. I think, for me, it's about storytelling. And it's not just about facts, but trying to bring forward.
It's in this book.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, and I say in the acknowledgments in my book that a big part of my teaching career and my students is in the book, because you need to bring out interesting stories that humanize characters and humanize people in history or events in history. And that could be through a letter or a photograph or a story about a prime minister's pets, like Mackenzie King, who had 3 Irish Terriers successively and gave them all the same name, Pat. Pat 1, Pat 2, and Pat 3.
He was reportedly a little bit loopy, wasn't he?
He was
eccentric.
He was eccentric.
There's a good word. Better word.
He was.
Yeah.
And he was into spiritualism, but he also kept a fascinating diary. So he has a diary that runs 30,000 pages, and it's available in the archives. And when his first dog died, he wrote 20 single-spaced pages on the death of his dog. Huh. Now, pet owners know that when you lose a pet, it's pretty traumatic.
Devastating.
And so I wouldn't judge Mackenzie King for writing about his deceased dog, but he was a little bit of a different cat for sure. But we didn't know it until the diary started to trickle out in the 1970s.
And you mentioned Pearson a couple of times. What was it you liked about Pearson?
So just, a decent guy, sports loving. He was a semi-pro professional baseball player. He even had the televisions set up in the Prime Minister's office in every October when the World Series was on, because it was played during the day when
Who was
he was
his
Prime
favorite
Minister.
team? Do you know?
I don't. Well, before the Expos, I don't know who his favorite team was. That's a really good question.
Probably the Yankees or Red Sox.
Yeah,
I'm
probably,
guessing. Yeah.
probably. And but he was also honorary president of the Montreal Expos when they came to be in 1969.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was it his force that that brought us the flag that we have?
Yes,
It was,
so
wasn't it?
You know, and
Yeah.
that's another story where kids are amazed
Yeah.
because we don't think about our history.
Yeah.
That flag is, you know, just over 50 years old,
Yeah.
and people don't understand that. You know, that flag is so much a part of our culture and identity now. It's hard to imagine a time when there wasn't a flag.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can remember. I remember the Union Jack.
Do you remember the
Oh,
red
yeah.
ensign? You know,
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember the debate?
Well, not the Union
I
Jack.
do.
You mean the red ensign
Yes.
one? Yeah.
I do remember the debate. It
Yeah.
was fierce. And I also remember all the wacky different designs
Right.
that came very close to being the flag.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a
And
fascinating story to look back on.
It's hotly debate. It was hotly debated,
Yeah.
which is hard to
Yeah.
imagine now, given how much we love that flag.
Yeah.
But in the day, it was very, very divisive.
Speaking of divisive, spending so much time talking about prime ministers, and you obviously have respect for the PMO as we do, James. What do you think the, how do I put this? Not the future of the country, but do you see it coming back together, or do you see the divide getting wider?
It's a good question, and I think it depends on Canadians and Canadian leadership. So if Canadian leadership decides that we want to try to unite Canadians, there's ways of doing it. There's ways of doing it through, rhetoric and speech,
Yeah.
and simple things like where you go and have meetings. Prime Minister Carney's been out to Alberta a couple of times already because I think he understands that Alberta is feeling like it needs some love, and he understands that he needs to get out there and pay some attention to that province. So, the other thing is the country's so big. I wish that there was some sort of program that could get more young people to be able to see different parts of the country. Ted's from New Brunswick. You're from Quebec. I'm from Ontario. I was fortunate enough to go and do a stage for 6 weeks in Jonquière, where I learned a lot more about Quebec culture and the language. And if more Canadians could go to different parts of the country, they would get a better understanding of how great this country is.
I've driven across the country a bunch of times, and I wish everybody would do it because we drove back from British Columbia last July, and we remarked that it's almost like 3 different countries. British Columbia is its own unique thing.
Yeah.
The prairies are their own unique thing. Northern Ontario is like a different world on its own, completely separate from Eastern Ontario. And then Quebec, I don't have to tell you about Quebec, and then the Maritimes.
But isn't it interesting, Terry, that despite the vastness and the
Yes.
differences, that there are still these things,
Yeah.
you feel like you're at home no matter where you are.
Yes.
There
And
are these ties that bind.
Yeah,
which is
you
pretty
always
remarkable.
feel like a Canadian.
And
Yeah.
and that's why I have such respect for McDonald, because without him, there's no railway, and if there's no railway, there's no country, and without him, we're not sitting here talking about the Prime Minister.
That's right. That's right.
This is a terrific book. I can't recommend it enough. It's called The Prime Ministers, Canada's Leaders and the Nation They Shape by JDM Stewart. James, thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best with this. I have to bring this home. This is Jess's bookmark. She loved the book, and then I get it after. So
Perfect.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as Jess is.
Okay. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Ted, you want to show our guest out, and I'll sing a song as an interlude. How about that?
Talk about Robert Richer Jewelers.
Okay, I'll do that. James, thank you. I'll talk to you soon. All righty. Thank you. I really enjoyed meeting him, and I cannot begin to tell you how good the book is. If you're interested in the history of the country, and I know you think history is boring, James makes it really not boring. Some fascinating stories about some fascinating people that shaped the country that we love very much. All right, Robert Richer Jewelers. Ted was in there buying bracelets last week.
I finally got around to getting the bracelet in support of the Quebec Association for Suicide Prevention.
Yes.
Beautiful bracelet, black onyx stones and one single green malachite stone symbolizing hope, and for only $30.
Yeah.
And half of that goes to the Association Québécoise du Prévention de Suicide, Quebec
Right.
Suicide Prevention Association. And I hope whoever found the bracelet in New York
I was going to say, why aren't you wearing it?
Because I lost it in New York.
You doofus.
I don't know where. I don't know if it fell off. I don't think it fell off. I don't think
you
it
would
could
have
have
known
fallen
that.
off.
No.
I'm obviously I misplaced it somewhere, and all I can do is trust in fate that someone maybe who needs it picked it up, because it is a suicide prevention awareness bracelet. So maybe I lost it for a reason, and maybe the right person found it. But I'm going back to get another one because, like I say, $30 and a beautiful bracelet for $30. And it's not like I lost a diamond pendant, so it's all good.
If you want a diamond pendant, they can handle that. If you're looking for earrings, they can handle that. If you're looking to spend a lot of money on a jaw-dropping gift, Pierre goes to Antwerp.
He's going in October. He's going next month. He goes twice a year to the diamond factories.
Quality of diamonds they have are unbelievable. So don't be intimidated. Go in and see these really, really nice people. This family-run jewelry store in Dorval, on Dorval Avenue, across from the Hullabaloo, where you can park.
Park at the Hullabaloo, also known as Dorval Gardens, the Dorval Mall, and walk across the street to Robert Richer Jewelers, 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval, and online at robertricher.ca. How is the Merson Hullabaloo?
The Merson Hullabaloo was hampered by the construction Hullabaloo.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was. I felt kind of bad. Jess and I got there at about 11 o'clock, and when we got to the corner of Saint Jacques and Cavendish, fermé, no, monsieur, fermé. And I had to say, yeah, but we're just going over there. So they had the road closed at that corner, and chaos ensued, of course, because there was no warning of it. If you were coming up Cavendish or you were coming up Saint Jacques in either direction, fermé, that's all you got. So that hampered the crowd. They had the hot dogs, they had the Homer's Donuts, and of course they had great deals on tires. And there were some people there. I should Alan
Graham.
Alan Graham popped by to say hello. Alan Lafferty did this little thing. If you're watching on
nice
on YouTube,
a little bit of
wood carving and wood burning.
Yeah.
It's a little thing for our podcast. Thank you, Alan. So I did meet a number of people, but it wasn't as busy as we'd hoped. But it worked out for me because Jess made her appointment for her winter tires, and I made mine for my winter tires.
Good. Well, I'm going to make mine soon
Yeah.
because the busy season is upon us,
big
or upon them
Yeah.
at Merson Automotive. And anybody who's been a longtime customer or whose family has been a customer down through the generations knows what terrific and honest service you get at Merson Automotive. It's worth dealing with the headaches to know that you're going to be treated right, not only for tires, but for any kind of car care that you need, automotive maintenance and repair. The Mersons will take good care of you.
Just past the corner of Saint Jacques and Cavendish, which I'm assuming is open by now. That was the kickoff on that Saturday. That was last Saturday as we record this on the 23rd of September. That was the kickoff to our day in Montreal. Jess and I decided to be tourists in the city, and we popped in on Royal Mount because Jess had never been to Royal Mount.
Oh yeah, and
Royal Mount it's starting to get busy.
Oh, that's good.
And you know what? I wish people would stop poo-pooing it because it's beautiful, it's big, there's tons of parking, and it's so simple to get in and out of. Really, really, really terrific. So we started at Royal Mount, then we parked the car and we jumped on the metro. We went down to Chateau Ramsey in Old Montreal to see the John Little exhibition. John Little, if you don't know who he is, he's a famous Canadian painter. He's Terry Mosher's godfather, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Terry Mosher, a.k.a. Aislinn from the Montreal
Talk
Gazette.
about a Montreal connection there, eh? And it was Mosher who posted it on Facebook, and I said to Jess, let's go see the John Little exhibition. I would like one day to have a John Little, but they're expensive paintings. Anyway, that's a really nice exhibition that's on till September 28th. We got off the metro, went to Chateau Ramsey, where you saw swords from the Count of Whoop-de-Doo and the Lieutenant Zozon from Hefafon.
You're not a historian.
I'm not a historian, no, but it's actually quite fascinating. A lot of history from Montreal, and the John Little exhibition was terrific. And then we wandered into Little Italy because we wanted to go to Henri.
Oh yeah,
the chapeau store. We got off.
They're not in Little Italy, are they?
No, but that's another. We on our way to Little Italy is what I meant.
Okay.
So we got off the metro, and we walked down St. Catherine. And as we got to the corner, I thought, "Is that a hole in the window?" And sure enough, shut down.
Oh, they moved down the street.
I know, but we didn't know that.
Oh.
How did you know that? Were you at the new place?
I went to the old place, and,
okay.
and there was a sign up saying relocated to, and it's just a few blocks down. I think.
Yeah. We were like, this bloody town, it's being ruined and everything's closed. Oh. So yeah, we went to see them in their new location.
Good. I'm glad you found it. What a great store, eh?
Yeah, Henri. It's such a Montreal
landmark.
It's the home of the hat trick.
Well, yeah, I've subsequently learned that they didn't exactly create the hat trick, but it's something I think they might have borrowed from soccer.
Yeah.
But originally, Henri was the original store where if you played for the Montreal Canadiens or for the visiting NHL team and you scored a hat trick, you scored 3 goals, you would get a free hat from Henri. And that's the hat trick. But apparently it originated somewhere in soccer, maybe in England, I'm not sure. But who gets 3 goals in a soccer game?
Yeah.
Both teams seldom get 3 goals in a soccer match.
That's quite the performance. And from there, Jess and I went into Little Italy. We're both big fans of Pizzeria Gemma, which is right across from Impasto on Dante. That's Stefano and Michel, the guys behind Impasto and like so many Italian products that are now available in grocery stores. The pizzeria is something that opened years ago. We absolutely love. By the way, if you want to go to Pizzeria Gemma, you make sure that you make a reservation, especially on the weekend. And I got to tell you this story because we were walking along Saint Laurent from the Castelnau metro. We walked up Saint Laurent. And we were marveling about Little Italy and how long it's been there. And there's a lot of architecture from the 40s and the 50s on some of the doors. Some of the doors, obviously, on these homes were, put up in the 1940s, 1950s. And we're looking at the places and talking about how long Little Italy has been there and how many residents have probably been here all their life. And Jess said, like that guy. And we looked up to the 3rd floor balcony, and there was a man that had long gray hair, and he was leaning over the balcony looking down on Saint Laurent. And she said, like, I'll bet you that guy up there, he must have been there for the last it's a nice robe and no pants.
Oh.
So that was an unfortunate a little thing. Yeah. That was the sideshow of Little Italy on Saturday. Anyway, my point is it's fun to play tourist in your own city.
Well, sure. There's lots to see.
We parked, you can get down on the town, and I do, but we parked the car and we jumped on the metro, and Old Montreal was buzzing. There was lots of people, and it was really, really a lot of fun. And I highly recommend it, except for the guy in the robe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Thought I would mention that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about this week was, did you go to any fancy restaurants?
In New York?
Yeah.
No.
I'm not so sure I'm a fancy restaurant guy anymore. I had my run for a little while.
Yeah, I've done fancy restaurants, especially in Montreal as well, but you don't have to go fancy to eat well.
No, and also now I'm not interested in, gastronomy, this is a pea on a pear, with a leaf. Like go
to the Costa Rican place and have 5 steaks at once.
Because I wanted to mention these restaurants. Excuse me, tip my hat to them because Air Canada every year does top restaurants in Canada. And they've announced their finalists. I think there are 25 of them. And 8 of the 25 are Montreal restaurants. And the restaurants are, let me put my other glasses on. Sushi. Stand by. Sushi Nishonokazi.
Are you a
guess.
sushi guy?
Eh.
Yeah.
You
can take it or leave it?
Yeah, I enjoy it once
it's
in a
good.
while. Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
good. Apparently, this is very good. It's on Saint Laurent. Restaurant called Molen on Saint Laurent. A restaurant called Panacea. I hope I'm doing that right. It's near the Baudry Metro on Atakan.
You having a stroke?
No, it used to be Amherst Street.
Oh, okay.
But now it's a Mohawk word that means brother or sister.
All right.
So it's Atakan, I think. Claire Jacques on Saint Denis. Bonafide on
Claire Jacques. Sorry.
Mangez-vous, mangez-vous. We should pitch them.
We got an idea for you.
Got an ad campaign for you.
Hello.
Sur la rue Saint-Denis. Sur la rue Saint-Denis. They're on Saint Denis. Bonafide on Saint Laurent. Pasta Pooks on Clark Street. They're in the same spot that the old Southern Chicken place used to be in. But by the way, they're closed. Apparently, there's a sign up that says "Gone to Sardinia" back in October. Restaurant Limbo on Mozart, and Le Violon is on Marquette. Good luck. That's a Danny Smiles restaurant. That's the restaurant where Katy Perry was pictured.
Oh, yeah.
Having dinner with the former prime minister.
Right.
And you can't get a reservation for Love Nor Money there. And Rotisserie La Lune. I really want to go into this. This is a chicken place. It's on Saint Zutik. Looks really good, and it's one of the top restaurants. But when I was clicking on the pictures, looking at the pictures of food on all of these different places, a lot of it was, it looked like you would have to go for a hot dog after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of it was like sort of.
I think exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I think
I'm done with that too.
I think those days may have passed me by now. I think what I want is a real, good,
a substantial meal.
Yeah, and a good homemade kind of, more traditional. Like if I'm going to eat like Italian food, I don't want, something that's been made up or a derivative of. I want Nona to make the sauce.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sure, for sure, yeah. Restaurant limbo is hard to get into, not because it's busy, but you actually have to do the limbo to get in. It's physically almost impossible after a certain age. There's a visual for you.
Yeah, we're so dumb.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of sushi, there's a sushi connection in the tweet sheet this week. Should we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention about being a tourist in your town? before we go
No,
there?
there was one thing that I wanted to mention quickly. It was the price of a hot dog. Have you noticed the price of a hot dog?
No, not lately.
A hot dog at Orange Julep is $6.
Oh, get out of here with
Kiss
that.
my ass.
I was actually, you said $6, and I said, is that all? I was thinking it was
No,
gonna
but
be
like, come
$9.
on.
I know.
It's the Orange Julep. I get it.
Yeah.
Instagram, big orange building. You could see it from the plane. It's a landmark. But $5.99 for a hot dog?
Yeah. Well,
mean,
it's
come on.
Yeah, you're getting gouged everywhere. At the hotel in New York, when I got there was an extra $120 charge it was a destination
Yes,
fee.
those are new fees.
Destination fee. Yeah. And I said to the guy at the front desk, like, what's a destination fee? And he just kind of shrugged.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I said,
got
I know
me.
it's not, I know you're not charging me that.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it came in about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a resort fee.
Yeah, that's what I love when you go to a resort and you stay on a resort and they charge you a resort fee.
Yeah.
Hello.
You would think maybe that would be in the initial price.
By the way, I was looking around. A hot dog at Belpro is $2.99.
Oh.
The Carry hot dog is $2.25. Mm-hmm. One of the best hot dogs in the world at the Carry hot dog. Go there.
Yeah.
The hot dog place up near us in the Laurentians, $1.50.
Yeah, well, that's
Costco.
probably an old school casse-croûte,
Yeah,
right?
And the best hot dog around.
No doubt.
Costco, $1.50, and IKEA, $1.
So shame on you, you big giant orange.
Yeah, well, gouge them if you can,
Yeah.
I guess is the whole
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the tweet sheet, shall we?
What I thought was funny on Twitter this
Yes,
week,
sir.
I laughed a lot at this one from @thefleshprince. If you hit the firefighter button on an elevator and there's no emergency, they come and kill you with an axe.
Sorry, gonna have to kill you.
From @LoveMyFriends. I called my dad crying and told him I was sorry for pushing him away so many years and that I'm scared because his health is bad. And he started talking about watches and new tires. I sent that to my daughter, Lauren, and I said, that's you and me, only it's going to be about baseball and World War II. She didn't respond. And from @Kip Conlon, not only did I make my own sushi, I drove myself to the ER. You can never go wrong with Kip Conlon,
Yeah,
eh?
he's just terrific. What a
Yeah.
great follow he is on the sewer that is Twitter, or X as it's called now. Let's say hi to our good friends at Accutech, shall we?
We shall. What's the lowest temperature you've had so far up north this winter?
-1.
-1?
Yeah, we woke up
When
the
was
other
it
morning
-1?
on the weekend. Yeah, it was
Jeez.
-1. And I was getting a little cheeky. I was in the pool last week.
Oh.
And
Well, there were some warm days,
yeah, there was
no?
some warm days. We were, believe it or not, this is going to no one who knows me is going to believe this, but we were stacking firewood, and then I cut the grass, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to jump in the pool. To hell with it. So I did, and I didn't die, and it wasn't that cold.
Have you turned the heat on yet?
Not yet.
No, eh?
No, sir.
Even at -1.
Yeah, -1. It wasn't -1 for a very long time, but I guess
Right.
that early part of the morning where it was like, oh,
Yeah. Well, this
Yeah.
is the time of the year to start thinking about that, and the folks at Accutech can help you out if, like a lot of people, you're moving away from oil furnaces and towards electric boilers or electric baseboard heating. They specialize in that. They can help you with that. They can help you plan and do all of the work for those issues. And also any service entrance or panel upgrades that might be needed to go along with that. Accutech Electric have got you covered. Another family-owned business. They've been in the business since 1995. Tom, who co-owns Accutech along with his wife Trish, his dad started it in 1995. I love this story. After defecting from behind the Iron Curtain by skiing over the Slovenian Alps.
very Bond-like that
Seriously,
story.
eh? Yeah. Now, what am I going to do now that I've escaped across the Slovenian Alps on my skis? I'm going to go to Montreal and start an electric company. And they've been at it now for 30 years. Accutech.ca for any electrical needs. As Terry likes to say, it's not something you need every day or maybe even every year. But when you do need it, keep Accutech in mind.
Yeah, when you need it, you really need it.
Yeah.
And don't be calling cousin Steve.
No.
You know,
No,
when it
Uncle,
comes
don't
to-
get Uncle Earl to look into that for
when
you.
it comes
Get
to
Accutech.
electricity. Couple of things that I wanted to mention. I want to tip my hat and say happy anniversary to Barb and Josh at the Monkland Tavern at the corner of Monkland and Oofnu.
Well, it's in the Monkland Village.
It's in the Monkland Village.
Yeah, it's near to Carey, is it not?
Yes. If you follow Monkland Tavern on Facebook, you can see the picture of the boarded up tavern, which is what it was for many years. Back in 1985, I remember there was wood on the windows and an alloué sign up over the wood. And somebody told me somebody bought the Monkland Tavern and they're turning it into a restaurant. And we all thought, wow, whoever that is, they're crazy.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago. And the Monkland Tavern,
Been going strong ever since.
and it changed the tenor and it changed the way people viewed the village. It spurred on other places to try and open. And the Monkland Village, in my opinion, became the Monkland Village because the restaurant opened and started to draw people into the village, which resulted in coffee shops and bakeries and, other places were there for a long, long time. But it was the renaissance of the Monkland Village. Barb and Josh should really take a bow as they celebrate their 30th anniversary of this week. They did for Monkland Village, I think, what David and the people at Joe Beef did for that area.
Notre Dame Street in St.
Notre
Henry.
Dame.
Yeah.
Remember, that was just all antique stores. And now, there's Liverpool.
Sort of revitalized the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
it really did.
Not
So,
sort of revitalized, it did revitalize.
Anyway, happy anniversary to Josh and Barb and everybody at the Monkland Tavern. And M.H. Grover celebrated their 100th anniversary this week.
Really?
100 years on Wellington in Verdun in the same location since 1925.
Speaking of Montreal landmarks.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
That Kenny and his family have been there for, 100 years. And Jacob, his son, is now taking over, working with his dad. And I saw Ken on television this past week saying he hopes they're there for another 100 years. So tip of the cap to them too. And I also wanted to mention this. I applaud this. They are going to call the Jacques Bizarre Bridge in Ile-Bizarre the Guy Lafleur Bridge.
Oh, nice. Yes,
How
I heard
about
something
that?
about that. Okay, I thought that's what they were going to call the new bridge, the new Ile-Tourte. So I read that wrong.
yeah.
I just read it wrong. But that's great that they're going to do that.
How about that?
That's a great.
What-
Yeah, it's past time actually that something be named in honor of Guy Lafleur.
He lived there for many, many
there you
years.
go.
He was
Perfect.
part of the community
Perfect.
in Ile-Bizarre. Jacques Bizarre, by the way, I looked it up because I thought, I wonder who Jacques getting bumped. I wonder who that was.
Yeah.
Military officer in 1642. Mm-hmm. So,
Well, he's still got the whole island.
yeah, and he had his day. It's anyway. That's something that I when we grew up in the West Island, we just called it the Ile-Bizarre Bridge. Let's go over the Ile-Bizarre Bridge. Now I think everybody's going to call it the Guy Lafleur Bridge,
of course
and
they will.
I thought that was just a terrific idea.
Yeah. Let me mention this. There is an International Recovery Day walk on Mount Royal this Sunday, September 27th, being organized and led by a group called Sober is the New Cool. They're raising awareness and showing support for anyone touched by addiction and mental health struggles, or simply those who want to stand for hope and healing. The International Recovery Day Walk, you can get more information on that at the Sober is the New Cool website. I don't have the website right in front of me, but if you Google Sober is the New Cool, I don't imagine there's more than one website by that name. And I, speaking of recovery, I'm breaking my own anonymity here, which goes against the traditions, but I went to an AA meeting in New York, which is one of my favorite things to do when I go away, and particularly when I go to New York, because it's like being in a movie.
See anybody famous?
I did not see anybody famous,
Okay.
and if I did, I couldn't break the
No.
anonymity.
I wouldn't ask you to. I just
but
wondered
it's
if you
just-
did.
It's so interesting because, I do meetings generally on the West Island where you get, everybody's from the same sort of socioeconomic circle. And but in New York, in Manhattan, you go to a meeting in Manhattan, you could have someone on this side of you lives on Park Avenue and someone on that side of you lives on a park bench.
Yeah.
And quite often the person who lives on the park bench will say what you need to hear that day.
Yeah.
So, but this particular, I went Sunday morning and there were maybe of 12 or 15 people in the room. There were half a dozen of us from out of town. There was a guy there from England. There was a guy there from Ireland. There was a guy there from Los Angeles. There was a lady there from Denver. There was me from Montreal. When they asked if anyone was from out of town, and they all introduced themselves, and I said, "Yes, I'm Ted. I'm a Montrealic. I'm a Montrealic from alcohol. Nice to be here."
I'm an alcoholic from Montreal. It's not uncommon from the stories that I've heard, famous guitar players, famous singers, famous actors.
Yeah. Lots of famous people show up, and anyone who's got good sobriety and,
Yeah.
and observes the traditions gives them their anonymity and their space. As hard as it is to sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure
when
it
you
is.
See,
Yeah.
when you see a huge rock star
Yeah.
walk into the room.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think in some circles, in some celebrity circles, they sort of have their own meetings just to avoid that.
SoberistheNewCool.ca,
There you
by the
go.
way. I looked it up while you were talking.
Yeah, have a look at their website and you'll see more about the International Recovery Day Walk on Mount Royal.
I'm going to read a letter that
Okay.
poured in. We had a letter pour in. And I've got some things to recommend. And did you see that story that David sent us about Laval Golf Club?
No.
Did you see that? David Garfinkel, our longtime
Oh, yes,
friend.
David Garfinkel. I was
Yes.
thinking of David Drucker.
No.
Yeah.
Sent us this story that I didn't know about, and of course I'm not going to be able to find it right away. It was, I think it's Laval-sur-le-Lac. Yep, it's a golf club.
That's fancy pants.
It
no?
is Le Club Laval-sur-le-Lac, and he got a copy of a note that the club sent out to their members. Chers membres, notre club, fier de son héritage, est le plus ancien club de golf francophone en Amérique. And the note goes on to say, stop speaking English. Our staff would like you to please, while you're on property, to make sure you're speaking French.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And if I was a
And
member...
how much what would a membership cost there?
I don't know.
I'm
but
sure it costs a lot,
Yeah,
like tens of thousands of dollars.
I don't give a shit about the language issue anymore. I roll...
No, I thought we were beyond that,
I
actually.
roll my eyes and I'm like, okay, vraiment,
Yeah.
bushy, whatever. Anyway, the note says since the start of the season, we've observed a rise in the use of English all over the course and in the chalet. And to respect the historic traditions of the club, we're making an appeal to our members to please use the privilege of speaking French during your exchanges with our staff.
That's really disappointing.
And
to hear.
I thought in 2025, David sent me that, and I thought, do I want to talk about this? And then I thought, what? That's small time.
It is.
Don't you
It's
think?
petty.
Petty is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this. We've talked about this before. Nobody really cares anymore. You know,
No.
I live in the Laurentians now, and it's mon français est une catastrophe.
Yeah.
Mais je parle français
Yeah.
quand tu parles français.
Yeah.
And no one cares. No one
It's
cares.
street level, nobody cares.
Some people hear my horrific accent or my horrific grammar, and they switch to English. Anyway,
I wonder why they would do that.
I just thought it was petty. Petty is the
that
word.
will cost them members, no?
I don't know, because I don't know anything about the club, and I don't know
Yeah.
anything about what they're doing, but I thought it was pretty shitty. Let's talk about, speaking of entertaining, and we weren't, let's talk about Playground.
I'm going to Playground
Are
this
you?
week. I'm going for the $5 breakfast.
Are you really?
One day I might play poker or take my chances with the slot machines.
Ted's got a new idea for groceries.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to because if you buy into a cash poker game at Playground,
Yeah.
they'll feed you and bring you drinks.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
As long as you're playing a cash game and you can, spend $50, get into a cash game do a $50 buy-in
Yeah.
and eat. And my plan is if I can learn to be a good poker player and play my cards right, I'll never have to buy groceries again. When I'm hungry at mealtime, I'll just go over and start playing poker and eat on the lamb and maybe win a few bucks while I'm at it.
The $5 breakfast is Wednesday.
That's
isn't
Wednesday
it?
morning, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going, we record on Tuesday, so I'm going tomorrow morning. I'm going to meet my buddy from Ganawage, Lance DeLille, and I'm going to take advantage of the $5 breakfast. I'll bet you coffee's included as well.
You can't find that anywhere.
Of course you can't. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, Playground is all about the entertainment experience, and it's the trip without the strip, they call it. It's a Las Vegas experience 20 minutes from downtown on the 138 in Ganawage, and it's already a legendary spot. And 44 poker tables and 1,000 gaming machines, electronic gaming machines, slot machines, electronic blackjack, electronic roulette. But as a non-gambler, what I love is the restaurants.
Yeah.
The Rail Coal-Fired Bistro. I've eaten there so many times, home run every time. They've got a steakhouse called Etc. ETC period. They've got a sushi place called The Drunken Dragon. And it's just... It's like I say, it's Vegas in the shadow of Montreal.
Yeah, if you're looking, like if you're having one of those days where you're like, you want to go bowling? What do you want to do? Like you don't. People associate places where slot machines are with getting addicted to gambling, but they're for fun.
Yeah,
and they do what we do. When Ted and I have gambled in the past, which is very, very rarely. You say, okay, I got this $50,
Yep.
and I'm taking that, and when it's done, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you play on $50 for an hour or two, or whatever,
Or maybe you'll leave with more than $50. Maybe you'll win because
when we got the tour, they said, somebody's got to win.
Yeah. And they have
really
jackpots.
Cool.
They have every day. Phil from Playground was telling us that every day they give away jackpots, or people win jackpots off those slot machines in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Over the Mercier Bridge into Ganawagi.
Playground.ca.
Okay, so last week I asked if anybody who had kids in school, how the cell phone ban was going. And we didn't get any letters, and that doesn't surprise me because, I think people who are listening to podcasts, if you have kids, you're not spending a lot of time listening to podcasts, I don't think, because you're busy. But I did get one letter, and I love this perspective. This came from Marky and Haley, and it said, "Gentlemen, thanks for the podcast. I really enjoy listening. Concerning the cell phone ban, my children are now in CEGEP, so they're not living with the band, but they were in St. Thomas High School in Point Claire. The school had a ban in place when they were there before the law was passed. I didn't know that some schools did that. I don't have an issue with the ban per se, but I believe they're missing a perfect opportunity to teach the kids how to balance the responsible use of electronics with the daily responsibilities of school and the required curriculum. After all, they're professional educators. There's many lessons that are not part of the official curriculum, time management, conflict resolution, etc., which children benefit from, and this is another non-curriculum life lesson that can be learned and reinforced by the team of professional educators. I believe they've taken the easy way out, just ban the kids from using the things on school property during school hours, while the use of cell phones on school property during school hours by teachers is okay. I find it kind of hypocritical, if you ask me. Just thought I'd give you my thoughts. Mark." I thought that was an interesting perspective. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for taking the time to send us an email. We'll give you the email address and whatnot at the end of the program, which is just around the corner now. I thought I would mention some things that I'd been watching that I'd like to recommend at the end of the podcast every week. Unless we've forgotten something, Ted.
I don't think so, no.
No, because every week I leave here and I go, shit, I forgot to mention.
Well, then we'll mention it next week. Okay. But we got to, do your recommendations because we got to wrap it up because our producer has a doctor's appointment. He doesn't look very good.
Oh, jeez. Hang on, Matthew.
I'm kidding, Matthew. You look great.
So, this week, Jess and I love junkie television, crime documentaries and the like.
Like fast food.
Yeah, like fast
TV
food.
Fast
we
food.
think, oh, look, this looks really stupid. Let's watch this. So this week we watched Rebel Royals, an unlikely love story about a real story. It's on Netflix about the crown princess of the Norwegian royal family.
Oh, her.
Yeah. Who married a shaman from Los Angeles.
What's a shaman now?
I'm getting
like
vibrations.
Transcendental meditation
just
type of guy.
Just a con man bullshit.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, this is going to be something. And it isn't. It's really, num-num, pretty num-nums. Yeah, it's just not. Anyways, we didn't like it. Steer away from it. If you're not feeling dark, and you can handle something that's kind of sad, there's a documentary on Christopher Reeve, which I know is old. It's on Crave. I finally got around to finishing it this past week. And when it was over, I thought, oh boy. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. And it's told from the perspective of his really lovely children. I guess there's a bright side to it in some respects, but it's a hard watch, but it's very, very good.
Listen, we know someone personally who's gone through a similar experience, and is, it's a sad story, but it's also an inspiring story. Yeah, and the good that Christopher Reeve left behind is quite something. It's on Crave if you have Crave. I watched a documentary on Eminem called Stands on Paramount Plus. Pretty good. If you like the music world, if you're an Eminem fan, it's pretty good. I liked it. Started to watch The Morning Show last night. It's back on Apple TV with Jennifer Aniston
and others. Reese Witherspoon. We watched the first episode. Okay, doesn't look like it's going to be a great season, just my opinion. And Tulsa King is back on Paramount Plus. I haven't started it yet, but I would imagine it's pretty good.
That's Sylvester Stallone, yes?
Yeah. And on a podcast note, if you're a music fan, the New York Times guy, and I think that's what it's called, New York Times guy, did a great podcast with Cameron Crowe. Cameron Crowe is the director of Almost Famous, Show Me the Money. What was the name of Jerry? What was that?
Jerry Maguire?
Jerry Maguire. Directed some great films, has a long history with Rolling Stone magazine. Really good. And John Kiriakou is back.
Oh, is he?
The CIA guy.
Yeah.
Now, I want to warn you about this. That podcast, which I started listening to 2 days ago, is 4 hours long. And I think that's insane. They're stupid.
Is it his own podcast?
No.
Is it with Dalton Fisher
yes,
again?
Dalton Fisher's had
well,
him back.
The original Dalton Fisher podcast with John Kiriakou was 6 hours long, and I couldn't
Was
stop.
it?
Yeah, it was in 2 parts, and each part was close to 3 hours.
Okay, well, this one is...
And I couldn't stop listening.
Me neither. This one, John Kiriakou, in case you don't know, is an ex-CIA agent who is an unbelievable storyteller.
He's a great
He's
storyteller
such
with
a
great stories
Oh my
to tell.
God. Such great stories. This new one, I was listening coming in today, just finishing it up. It's got some great Mossad stories. And just, like, if you like spy stuff, if you're a
You
fan,
don't even have to like spy stuff.
just-
Everybody I've sent that original podcast to has said, wow,
Yeah.
that was good.
So I thought I would mention he's back. Dalton Fisher is the podcast guy. The Cameron Crowe one is on the New York Times website if you'd like to find that. And of course, this is also a great podcast.
Please listen.
Please listen. Okay, that's it, I think, eh?
Yep.
All right. So just as we're going out the door, please visit terryandtedpodcast.com. You can email us there. There's a link there directly crawling over our heads. It's moving like crawls like this. You click on it, boom, it takes you right to the YouTube channel.
Please subscribe.
Yes, when you get to the Standing By Podcast YouTube channel, it really does help if you subscribe. I know all podcasters beg for this. Now I understand it
It makes
a
it
little more.
easier for you to find, though. That's the key to that, because sometimes you go on YouTube looking for a podcast
Yeah.
and they're difficult to find.
Just-
if you've got the subscription, bang, it's going to show up for you.
Yeah, and just go to terryandtedpodcast.com. You can send us a note and you can find lists of recommendations and all kinds of stuff.
And it costs nothing. You
Yeah,
don't
it costs
have to pay
nothing. Yeah, Jess has done a great job on it. You can follow Terry and Ted Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Ted is the keeper of the Facebook podcast. I feel bad because you do all the
No, that's
posting.
fine. I enjoy doing
Yeah.
that. Sam Bird, my son, makes our promos, and
Yes.
has done such a great
Yeah, he
job.
sure
he's
is.
really upped our promo game. With
He
his,
did a great job last week with the guy.
Yeah, with the great guy.
Great guy.
Yeah, and he added interlude music where you said we should have interlude
Yes.
music. Yeah. Also, Terry's. I'm going to post Terry's test run video for
I'm just
on live Facebook that he did before.
You'd never know I was a grown man.
Yeah. I'll make sure that's I'll send that to Sam and make sure that gets posted this week. It's very funny.
Okay. It's very juvenile.
Yeah, but it's funny. It made me laugh out loud.
And we would love if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Join us on Apple Papa. If you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, apparently that helps a lot, and Spotify, because it helps other people discover the podcast. Again, a couple of Montrealers who used to work on the radio in Montreal doing a Montreal podcast in Montreal. That's what we do every week.
And ex-Montrealers seem to enjoy it as well.
Yeah,
so
we get a
wherever
lot-
you are
yeah,
around the world
yeah.
listening, thank you.
Yes,
we
send us
appreciate
a
that.
note.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Jess was looking at some of the stats in the whoop-de-doo column there, and apparently we have a number of listeners in Greece.
Really?
Yes.
You ever been?
No.
Oh, you've got to go.
Yeah, I've got to
there.
go.
You've
I know.
got to go
We've
there.
talked about that. Yeah.
The islands.
My thanks to Matthew, our producer. My thanks to Jessica Dion, our executive producer. We're going to do this again next week, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a date. We'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Standing By. Thanks a lot for listening. Appreciate it a lot.
Standing By. The Terry and Ted podcast is hosted by Terry DeMonte and Ted Bird and is brought to you by the UPS Store Canada. The executive producer of Standing By is Jessica Dion.